Faizon Love is an actor and stand-up comedian that you would recognize from many roles over the years, including as Big Worm in Friday and as Wanda in Elf. Even though he's more known as an actor, Faizon has been doing stand-up for 40 years, since he was 15 years old, alongside Pauly Shore at the Comedy Store. And he's going to be here in Austin this weekend, November 17th and 18th, performing at Cap City Comedy Club in the Domain. For tickets and more info to the shows at 7:30 and 10 o'clock each night, go to capcitycomedy.com. Faizon, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
I'm good. In Austin, Texas.
You spent much time here?
No, but I think I should. I shot a movie here with Russell Peters about 10 years ago. And we had a great time.
What movie was that?
I always mess up the name. Not Rumpelstiltskin, but...
Oh no, now I'm going to mess it up. Rumpelstiltskin?
It's like that, but it's Ripset. I messed the movie up. Russell Peters, we had so much fun on the movie. We were two stoners that went to sleep, came back in the future. Rumpelstiltskin. Something like that.
So speaking of cannabis, did you just see that Snoop is apparently giving the weed up for good?
Yeah. I stopped smoking weed because of Snoop.
Is that right?
We got high. Yeah, we got high in front of Comedy Store one night, and I was so blown. And I was like, we smoked a lot of other times before, but I was so blown. By the time I got to the house, I was like, "That's it." I was so paranoid all night. I was like, I was listening to Michael Jackson on the way home, and there's some part of the song, and I kept hearing that all night, just like, I got to the house, I kept hearing, I was like, oh no, no more. I was so blown out. I was like, yo, what was in that weed? That was in 97, 98.
My guess is that Snoop has maybe forced more people into retirement than anybody else in the history of that wonderful plant. Maybe Willie Nelson gives him a run for his money, but I'm guessing there are multiple people with stories like yours.
I mean, and you know, Willie, I heard that he's messing with a cowboy. Mamas, don't let your baby smoke with Willie Nelson. No,
You've obviously been doing stand-up for a long time. Have you ever performed here, Faizon? I feel like I may have seen your name once at Cap City in the past, but I'm not sure about that.
No, never. This is my first time at Cap City. Last night was my first time. We had such a good time there. Killeen, Texas is the closest.
Okay.
Houston, always Dallas, always Addison, never Cap City, never Austin. Closest has been Killeen and Fort Wayne.
Okay.
Fort
Worth?
Is it Fort Worth? Fort Hood.
Oh, yeah. Killeen, Fort Hood. That's right. So obviously people are going to be very familiar with you from the acting credits. I've seen some of your stand-up, and I've cracked up at it, but for somebody who's not familiar, where are you really drawing your inspiration from with what you're talking about on stage?
Just everyday life inspiration every day.
Is that right?
Yeah, as I get older, I just had a kid, my only child at 50. I'm 55 now, so the business, stories about the business.
First kid at 55 as the father of two wonderful children, ages 9 and 7. I'm 45 now. What in the hell were you thinking, man?
I wasn't. That's part of my I have something there about me taking my daughter to Disneyland. Oh my God. was like, yeah, it's a challenge, especially for somebody my size. It's like, come on. Yeah, but she's a blessing. So
How old is she now?
4.
What is the thing that has surprised you most about fatherhood?
How smart they are.
Yeah.
You ask me some real questions like, huh? They're really smart. Now they're really smart. She gets on this phone and she's whipping it and whipping it. I'm like, how do you do that? Oh, just whip it. And emojis. Emojis. You know what emojis are? Yeah.
It's crazy how all of that is so second nature for them, isn't it?
And it was like they were born for it. You know, it's effortless. You know, this is how you find it. I mean, from 1 year old taking pictures. She knows, you know, from a baby, she was taking pictures like this. And she takes nice pictures.
That's good.
Like her taking the picture. She took a picture of her and my mom that's amazing.
Like she has an artistic eye for it.
Yes. Yes. And she's got a pose. She puts a little 2 out here like this. I'm like, if you don't stop it, girl. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I think that's part of my stand-up is explaining. You ever heard that Kenny Chesney song called The Good Stuff?
Probably. I'm not a big country fan.
What? I'm out of here. What the? No. Listen to it. You don't have to be a country fan. It's just a great story. It's called The Good Stuff. This in particular song is called The Good Stuff. And that's what having a child is and the experience of that. That's probably one of the only experiences I haven't had is being in somebody's life and somebody really needing you, somebody really loving you, you know what I'm saying? Even when they're mad at you, because you didn't stop by McDonald's. You get that?
Little kid rationale, man. I love what's happening with stand-up comedy right now, and I'm sure you're in agreement here, where stand-up is going through a sort of golden era once again, almost as in a sort of response to the COVID era and just how oppressive all of that felt in retrospect. That there needs to be those last bastions where people can get on stage and talk about things and not get in trouble necessarily for talking about certain ideas because you're joking about it and you're trying to hit one side or the other, right? But with that comes greater responsibility from the crowd. So there are a lot of new people to comedy, Faizon, that need to be taught lessons about how to act at a stand-up comedy show. I've started a list.
They don't know how to act. This lady last night, she just starts yelling, "Blah, blah, blah." And I wore her ass out.
That is ultimately what has to happen, is comics just have to be good at deploying the morons in the crowd, unfortunately. But a lot of people think it's like their duty to go Mystery Science Theater 3000 when you're telling your setup, your punchlines or whatever. It's like, hey, nobody is paying to listen to you while this professional is telling jokes. Shut up. Laugh when you need to laugh, clap when you need to clap, and let that be that. So I say all of that to ask you, what are some unwritten rules that you think people need to be aware of about attending a show at a comedy club from the comedian side of things?
Like you just said it, stepping on people's joke. Sometimes you lead them down a place they think you're going to say this. And then, no, that's not what I was saying. And you just messed the whole joke up. Idiot. They don't understand that this is an art. Because a lot of the internet people, they do these sketches and stuff, and they think that's what we do. We don't do that. This is an art. It's a lost art. It's a hard art. Everybody thinks they can do it. I'm like, no one ever thinks they can just go to the airport and start flying a plane.
Yep.
It's the same thing. It's an art. It's a magic show.
There's a performative element. You have to be good with words. I mean, it is difficult. Anybody that just makes their friends laugh, if you think you're that funny, go try and do that to a room full of complete strangers.
Consistently.
Right.
Go try to be funny consistently. Go try to be funny at all. Because a lot of people think they're funny until they get their front of that mic and see that sprite. that bright Sprite. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, so, right. I love it. I've been doing this since I was 14.
Since you were 14?
And
40 years then. More than
yeah,
40 years.
definitely.
Where did you
Yes.
start?
La Jolla, California, the Comedy Store with Louise. Me and Paulie started around the same time together. He's the reason why I got to chill in the comedy club, because when I'll you potluck, and potluck means you stand outside, and when it's time for you, go straight to the stage, do your time, you go straight back out. Well, when Paulie was my age. He would park his little Corvette on the side. He's like, dude, come with me. You're okay, bro. You can chill in the club. Just don't drink any alcohol, man. And I was like, cool. So that's really the beginning of it. Mark Brazil, good friend of mine till this day, helped me put my set together. Mark Brazil created that 70s show, Third Rock from the Sun. He put my first set together. He was like, you're funny, but you need to have structure. So you need an opening, a middle, and an end. And I was like, oh. And we went through it. I remember we went through an afternoon together.
Huh.
And that next day I had a whole 3-minute set. First I would just talk about why do you go see a karate movie, back to the karate movies, when they kill him, they back raise up like remember that? Remember those karate movies and people die, they back would raise.
It's like they're flexing their back on their way out, you know?
Yeah. It's like all the errors coming out.
So wait a second. If you started at the La Jolla Comedy Store, then at what point were you going into the city to the Comedy Store in LA? Because that was an interesting era for the Comedy Store in LA.
I would drive up there for their potluck. Earl and I, my best friend Earl, we would drive up there. We'd do two things. We'd go straight, because you see everybody. Arsenio Hall, TK Carter. It was so many people backstage. It was like, whoa, the names on the wall. I'm like, yo, this is really it. I remember the smell. There's a smell of a comedy club. And you identify that with the nightlife, of the culture of it. I remember asking for a Coke, and they're giving it to me because I never asked for drinks, because any drink in your hand looks like alcohol drink, and I'm 15, 14 years old. So I was like, yeah, can I have a Coke? And getting my money together. No, you're a comedian. So I get Coke for free. I met so many people. I remember seeing Richard Pryor for the first time walk down the hallway, and it's like, whoa. And he was such a sweet guy.
Do you remember the first time you got to interact with him?
That was the first time. He's coming down the hall, smoking a cigarette, just kind of in his own thing. And I was like, this fucking Richard Pryor. And myself, I mean, it's kind of like paralyzed. Like, damn, it's like he was walking in slow motion, smoking a cigarette. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, what are you looking at, kid? You all right, kid? Because it's something like the glaze in my eye was like, he's like, what are you looking at, kid? You all right, kid? He just kind of laughed, put his head down, and went on stage. And it was just so many moments of watching greatness. I remember watching Jim Carrey do this whole win thing, and so many. What's a big comedian?
Sam.
Oh no, trust me,
Kinison.
I hung up with Sam Kinison in La Jolla. He was supposed to do a movie, and he quit the movie. He came down to La Jolla and sold it out for like 2 weeks. He he was just banana. He had married a twin, and Carla Bow finest Henderson, it was madness watching because these guys were the greats. He was part of what they call the outlaws of comedy. And these guys were nasty. I mean, they were just funny, raw. Kinison would pick up the phone. Dude, what's her name? A live phone. What's her name? What's her name? The guy goes, Sharon, come here. Let's call Sharon. What's your name? What's her number? He dial a number. Oh, Sharon. Crowd would leave the earth. It was just like rock and roll hysteria.
Has being around stand-up provided you with more joy in life than being around making films? Because obviously you've done a great job of making people laugh in that capacity as well. But I hear a lot of comedians talk about like that really does feel like their brotherhood more than the other side of the entertainment coin.
They're two different mediums. Film is a much longer process.
A lot of standing around.
Not only that, it's like you shoot something, you don't know what the reaction is till a year later.
That is a long lag between what you do and getting the response. It's almost like it's out of your system by that point.
It's out of your system, and you're not really, so you're like, oh yeah, but you're still kind of waiting, like, how did that turn out? You know, if something's funny is if the editor's saying your stuff like, oh, shimmy, shimmy. Oh, that's a good one. Editor, the producers, oh, shimmy, shimmy. The people in the rush, I'm like, oh, okay. You know if you're hitting the editing room, because they're all like giving you fives, like, but it's still a long process until it hits the screen.
Right.
So you don't know. Stand-up is instant. You say something, shimmy, shimmy. Well, that ain't funny. A lot of comics make the mistake of trying to do stand-up while they're acting. That's not good at all.
Huh.
That's not good at all.
Just blending those two or marrying those two worlds, it doesn't tend to work out well?
Not at all.
Why is that?
Because stand-up is set up beginning, middle, punch. Beginning, middle, punch. And you're delivering one line, it's like, that ought to tell them, and you think your mama is. Acting, you're a part of a wheel. So what is my job? Carry the water, or what is my job? In acting, sometimes you're the heel of the wheel. And you have to make that funny. When Eddie Murphy gets thrown out of the window, that's nothing cool. But he's the heel of the wheel. So they throw him out the window, and he's like, what the fuck? Very little words. You're under arrest, sir. What do you mean about the arrest? I just got thrown out the window. What's the charge for getting? What's the charge for getting thrown out of a car window? Jaywalking? It's a more group effort. Your job here is to let the people know you're a fish out of water. A lot of comedy doesn't take words. It's a look. Acting doesn't take a lot. I hate a lot of words for less words.
The best actors say a lot with very little. And you're right. Oftentimes it comes down to just basic facial expressions or tiny noises,
And that's all timing. Use those things as a timing. Those noises, it's all timing. For example, we're doing Elf, and Will Ferrell's character, in the script, Will Ferrell's character freaks out. I know Santa. I know him. I know him. And I have to say, what do you mean you know Santa Claus? That's what I'm supposed to say. But organically, it doesn't work for me to talk because I'm breaking up his moment. So if I try to talk and get my line in, hey, man, what do you mean you know Santa Claus? Santa Claus ain't a real person, blah, 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 blah. It kills the moment. But so instead of that, your feeling is to, what would you have? Somebody tell they know Santa Claus, really? Like, what? You just look at him. I know him. The more you zero in on, I know him.
So there's a level of empathy there. Interesting. You've obviously talked so much about the many roles and big films that you've been in over time, but I'm going to be honest, Faizon, the first thing that I thought of when I reached out about speaking with you was from Blue Crush. And as a matter of fact, I went on YouTube and the social medias earlier to find the surf lesson scene from that movie. It wasn't anywhere to be found. So I actually rented this movie a little bit earlier just to watch that scene, and just how cool of a scene it was, but how great of a job you did in it as well. My question for you is, did you actually have fun surfing? Because you did get up there at one point. Like, you were really on top of the water.
I was terrified because I couldn't swim. But the brothers, they told me, you don't have to know how to swim, bro. It's 2 feet of water. I was like, what do you mean it's 2 feet? People don't know. You can go out almost a mile and it's like 4 feet of water.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Was that actually in Hawaii? Was that film shot in Hawaii?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow, yeah. I think that was Sandcastles Week.
Huh.
They named every wave. I believe it was Sandcastles. They know the wave. They know the low. They know everything. Hawaiians know everything about that ocean.
Yep.
It's going to be low tide here, bro. It's going to be here. It's going to be the corals over here. So with their help, all you have to do is really just get up on the board. I remember one day, Keelani, I know I'm saying his name wrong. Please forgive me. I kept asking him, are there sharks out there? Are there sharks? Are there sharks? Are there sharks today? He says, brother, taste the water. Is it salty? He says, yes. Whenever the water is salty, the shark's close. The water is always salty. Yeah. So I stopped asking about the sharks because they're always there. So that was a good thing to have them help us, because you kind of just let it go. When I got up, I was just like, okay. I was riding Brother Israel's board, which they call the sidewalk, but it's still, I got up, I got up.
Did you get up a bunch that day, or was that the one time that they showed on screen? Was that the one time that you got up?
Oh, no. Because we had to practice. When I'm practicing, I'm getting up. And people, I remember the first time I got up, the whole beach was like, yeah. And it's the greatest feeling because I know this sounds corny, but you ever surf?
Okay, so my wife and I tried it for the very first time with a lesson very similar to how things looked for you guys in Cabo in January. And the ocean kicks your butt, man. The ocean is unrelenting, but when you get up, you're right. It's like one of the most exhilarating feelings on the planet.
You hear and feel the water rushing.
Yep.
You're on this board, and I'm like, what? Oh shit! I'm really surfing. I'm surfing. Then you're like, wait a minute, I'm surfing. I'm riding the water.
Yeah, then you start to think about it exactly, and you fall.
Yeah,
that's how it goes.
It's a great feeling. Surf lessons.
Well, Faizon, thank you so much for the time today, man. This has been a real joy. I hope people can catch you at Cap City Comedy Club this weekend. 2 shows tonight, 7:30 and 10. 2 shows tomorrow, 7:30 and 10 as well. There are still a few tickets remaining, so folks, go to capcitycomedy.com. Faizon is a hilarious dude. If you love the movies, trust me, you're going to enjoy the stand-up comedy as well. Thank you so much for the time today, brother.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you, Terry. When I see you out there suffering, bro.
Thanks to Gentleman Jesus for the intro and outro music. Hear more of his work at gentlemanjesus.com. Thanks to you for hanging out. For more of the show and to connect on social media, visit booksonpod.com. Talk to you next time on Books on Pod.